Hello, Christopher L. Spirit Killer, and I'm going to try and make this as short as possible, just so my video is not too long or it's not over 100 meg, because I know the little YouTube people will reject it, like they did my little, okay, anyway, that's not what I'm going to focus on. Today I'm going to focus on your video 90 advice. I'm just going to briefly touch on these points here, and then I'll stop. And the reason why I'm just going to go short is because I made a too long of a video last time about this. So, let's start. Tithing. You said your church wasn't following the teachings of Christ well enough. Your friend has very good advice. Your church no church is perfect, but tithing should be giving back to God what you give back to Him. So that's what I have to say about tithing. I'm just going to make this short as possible, like I said earlier, because the last time I made this video I had like a 5-6 minute speech on what tithing's all about, and I'm sure you already know what tithing's about, so I'm not going to talk about that. We're going to go to your next point about community work. That the pastor canceled 2 Sunday services for community work, etc. And I think that's wrong too. You should never cancel services for community work. God should be the first priority in our lives. And then maybe your family, and then yourself, and some people place community, and then themselves, and then maybe miscellaneous friends, and etc. through the line of importance. So I don't think that was right either. I'm not sure what to say about that, except keep trying. You said you're a member since August, I believe, of 06, and it will be very hard if you do go to a different church to get used to the new stuff, new church, etc. And I don't really need to explain that, because since you've been through that experience, I've been through it, so yeah. And then your third point about what the pastor's wife gave a sermon, and the only thing I have to say about that is that is just read the surrounding verses and make sure you're looking at the audience Paul's writing to in the church of Macedonia. He's writing this letter to, and in this particular verses that you cited, I think Paul's calling the church to have a higher sense of standard for worshiping God. Maybe they weren't focused on God enough. Because sometimes some of the verses in the Bible don't necessarily mean what they say exactly. For example, when it talks about having communion in the Bible, it talks about the blood, it talks about the body. Since that's a metaphorical sense, there's also this, I think, maybe another instance of this occurring is also in 1 Timothy. When it talks, Paul writes to the church of Macedonia on instructions on worshiping, and it talks about the women should dress up and wearing really nice clothing, have gold, etc. I think Paul was particularly ready to have a higher sense of standard for the church. Maybe the church didn't. They're focused on the tithing too much, or they I don't know. So, my only suggestion on that is just make sure you read the surrounding verses and see how the audience and the audience in the verses would apply to everyday living. And you didn't believe the entire Bible was infallible. I think it's good to, at the same time, question your faith. You're testing your faith to see how reliable it is. But you really need to be careful when you try to say something is not infallible, such as the Bible, which is the Word of God. Because I might have to do some research myself, but if you think some verses are infallible, you might start believing other verses are, and it just gets to the point where you might be thinking, well, geez, well, am I supposed to believe them if some verses are not infallible? Then how do I know what's fallible and what's infallible? So you see what I'm saying? We should really leave matters like that up to God. Really ask God, and ask Him, what's your will? I want to know want to be done in your will. Because things like what should be fallible, what should be infallible, should really be up to God, not us. We're not supposed, as Christians, we're not supposed to place judgment onto things like this. So anyway, hopefully that was short as possible. 6 minutes so far. So that's all I have to say about that. If I wanted to go any longer, I'd end up doing like a 20-part video series or whatever on your video. Well, anyway, I hope this advice is useful to you. Have a wondrous day. Thank you for watching.